Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I claim the time in opposition and yield myself as much time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
After several years of difficult negotiations with a dangerous and malevolent regime, the administration and representatives of the other P5+1 nations reached an agreement with Iran over its nuclear program. The primary objective of the United States in the negotiations was to prevent Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon. Given the unthinkable consequences of Iran, the world's foremost sponsor of terrorism, obtaining the bomb, this has been an overriding national security imperative of the United States for decades. As an American and as a Jew who is deeply concerned about the security of Israel, it is also intensely personal. I believe our vital interests have been advanced under the agreement, since it would be extremely difficult for Iran to amass enough fissionable material to make a nuclear weapon without giving the United States ample notice and time to stop it. We will still need to guard against any Iranian effort to obtain nuclear material or technology from proliferators abroad, a reality even if Iran had given up all enrichment. But the agreement likely gives the world at least a decade and a half without the prospect of an Iranian nuclear weapon and without going to war to make that so. That is a major achievement. The United States realized this objective by securing a number of important provisions in the agreement, including the power to snap back sanctions in whole or in part, and not subject to a veto in the United Nations. The United States and its allies also procured an extensive and intrusive inspections regime that lasts for 25 years or more, by applying to the whole chain of the enrichment process, from the ground to the centrifuge. It realistically precludes Iran from developing a hidden and parallel enrichment process. With respect to those inspections, I think it's very important to clarify something which I often hear the opponents obscure, and that is there are inspections with respect to Iran's prior military work, inspections of known nuclear sites, and inspections of other sites which we may suspect Iran may conduct work in the future. And the mechanisms with respect to each are different. With respect to the known nuclear sites, there are 24/7 eyes on Iran's enrichment activities. That will be the most extensive and intrusive inspections any nation has seen of its nuclear program. With respect to its potential sites, that is, sites we don't know, where we suspect in the future they may do work, we will have a mechanism to obtain inspections in a timely way. And certainly in a timely enough way that if they were to ever utilize radioactive material, they would be detected. And finally, we have the inspections into their prior military work. And I will say this with respect to the prior military work. Those of us that have reviewed the intelligence know that we have an extensive bank of information about what Iran had been doing in the past. To the degree that we need a baseline for what Iran's work has been, we have that baseline, and I think that is a pivotal consideration going forward. As recently as yesterday, the Director of National Intelligence stated that he has great confidence that we can determine if Iran fails to comply with the agreement. For me, it is the size and sophistication of Iran's nuclear enrichment capability after 15 years that is the key challenge. At that point, it is the work necessary to produce the mechanism for the bomb that becomes the real obstacle to a breakout, and that work is the most challenging to detect. Nevertheless, I have searched for a better, credible alternative and concluded that there is none. When it comes to predicting the future, we are all looking through the glass darkly. But if Congress rejects the deal agreed to by the administration and much of the world, the sanctions regime will, if not collapse, almost certainly erode. This does not mean that Iran necessarily dashes madly for a bomb, but it will almost certainly move forward with its enrichment program, unconstrained by inspections, limits on research, and development of new centrifuges, metallurgy, or other protections in the deal. In short, Iran will have many of the advantages of the deal in access to money and trade, with none of its disadvantages. Instead of rejecting the deal, therefore, Congress should focus on making it stronger. First, we should make it clear that if Iran cheats, the repercussions will be severe. Second, we should continue to strengthen our intelligence capabilities to detect any form of Iranian noncompliance. Third, we should establish the expectation that while Iran will be permitted to have an enrichment capability for civilian use, it will never be permitted to produce highly enriched uranium, and if it attempts to do so, it will be stopped with force. Fourth, we will share with Israel all the technologies necessary to maintain its regional military superiority and, if necessary, to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities, no matter how deep the bunker. And finally, we're prepared to work with Israel and our Gulf allies to make sure that every action Iran takes to use its newfound wealth for destructive activities in the region will prompt an equal and opposite reaction, and we will combat Iran's malignant influence. The Iranian people will one day throw off the shackles of their repressive regime. And I hope that this deal will empower those who wish to reform Iranian governance and behavior. The 15 years or more this agreement provides will give us the time to test that proposition. Then, as now, if Iran is determined to develop the bomb, there is only one way to stop it, and that is by the use of force. But the American people and others around the world will recognize that we did everything possible to avoid war.